Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. We're starting off with another Mythos Monday. Actually, we're going to have a whole Mythos week on the channel, if I'm being perfectly honest. But we're also continuing our role-playing game tour here, as we're getting ready for our first session of Arkham Horror, the role-playing game by Edge Studios. Just making some notes here in my notebook. 11:25. If you've been around the channel for a while, then you know I've had a long love affair with the Arkham Horror files. In fact, we're getting ready to start a campaign dedicated to the Arkham Horror files this week. But we need to be out of the Arkham Horror files for the start of this one, because we've got the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament for Christmas in Arkham. And if you didn't see the intro for that, it's up on the channel already. But I'm rambling a little bit. So, as we're in Arkham Horror, the role-playing game, we step into the familiar role of investigators in the Arkham Horror files, telling different stories here. And for this one, we're going through the starter set for the Arkham Horror role-playing game, as we're going to play through the Hungering Abyss. But in case I run into any rules pitfalls that I can't cover in the starter set, I've also picked up a copy of the core rulebook for Arkham Horror, the role-playing game. So hopefully I can use that to help things along here if I get stuck. This game plays based on a dynamic pool system of dice, where you spend dice to perform actions during our narrative scenes or our structured scenes. Narrative scenes, think of it like, from what I'm picking up of this, think of it as being something like Dungeons and Dragons, where you sit around kind of describing what your characters are doing. Structured scenes tend to be more, your characters are under the gun with whatever they're doing. So there's obviously a bit more of a sense of urgency in those scenes. And actually, bear with me a second while I go get my phone, so I have that handy tonight as well. Sorry about that. Just wanted to make sure I had my phone handy while I was in here, just in case anybody was trying to get a hold of me. So in order to set the scene, let's describe what we're going through here. So I'm trying to figure out how much of this that I want to go through. Making the wife dinner, just stopped in for a few, hope to come back. Hope everything's going well with your wife, Jester, and she's getting over her knee surgery okay. I think that's what you said she was going through. And I thought I put this on Do Not Disturb. Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully we'll see you a little bit later here, Jester. All right, so it looks like our first part of the story that we've got here is we've got occult worshipping an ancient supernatural being known to some as Umordoth, the Devourer below, stealing corpses and abducting people in Arkham to feed its endlessly hungering god. The cult ranges from mostly human members to bestial, hairless ghouls that feast on the bodies of the dead. The cult wants to bring Umordoth to this world and intends to do so through a ritual when the full moon reaches its apex, which will happen barely 24 hours after the investigators begin the game. Okay, so it looks like I got a little bit spoilerific there. Went to the emergency room this morning, so it could be better. Oh, sorry to hear that. All right, so we've got our first... So we're going to have our first scene here, which was where we're going to get introduced to the dice pools. But before we do that, we should probably meet the investigators that we're taking out. There are a total of 5 investigators in the box with the starter set, but I'm only playing as 2 of them. First investigator that we're playing as, you'll recognize as being a favorite on the channel, and depending on the ancient one that we take on, we may be seeing either one of these investigators again, but we're far more likely to see this investigator again than the other one we're playing. So the first investigator that we are playing is we're playing Carolyn Fern, the psychologist. We can see her skills here. 6+ on agility, 5+ on athletics, 4+ on wits, 5+ presence, 4+ intuition, 4+ knowledge, 5+ resolve, 6+ on melee and ranged combat, and 5+ on lore. Just by glancing at some of the rules, I'm guessing that when you spend dice to make checks against these skills, that's when you need to roll to survive on the check. But again, that's a guess on my part. Anyway, Carolyn has got some knacks. We've got a therapeutic presence. When an ally within 15 feet rolls one or more results of 1 on horror dice, you may suffer 1 horror damage to change their 1 result or results to 6 instead. And practice resolve. When you perform a complex action using resolve to heal horror damage you're suffering, you may reroll up to 2 dice, and you have to keep the second result. And then as for equipment, we've got Journal of Applied Psychology. Once per game session during a narrative scene, you may perform a complex action using presence, targeting one other character suffering from 1 or more traumas. If you succeed, the target may remove 1 trauma of their choice and may heal all horror damage. But if you fail, you and your target each suffer 2 horror damage instead. And a first aid kit. Counts as medical supplies when user performs the heal wounds action. Whenever this item is used, mark or place a token on one of the quantity circles. When all quantity circles are marked, this kit must be replenished before it can be used again. Punch and kick when you're engaged for 1 damage. Other equipment, pocket watch, locket, glasses, notebook, and $9. And then the story so far. You are Carolyn Fern, a psychologist and adept hypnotist who works at the Arkham Sanatorium. Many people think that your patients are little more than deranged and dangerous, but you see them as tortured souls seeking peace. You have dedicated your life to mending broken minds, and throughout that time, you have learned the difference between an affliction stemming from natural causes and one that comes from twisting forces beyond the veil. One of your patients, a war veteran called Philip Drew, has been in your care for some time. He has been stricken with the urge to feed on human flesh. You have worked with him for a long time, but something has changed in recent weeks. He has always described the call of hounds, a sound only he can hear, beckoning him to a great feast. This past week, he began to writhe in increasing discomfort and agony between fits of screaming. The hounds of the Blackwood are coming. You might have chalked it up to worsening psychosis, but a few days ago he killed an author during an interview, took several huge bites out of him, and escaped. You aren't proud of it, but you noticed the notepad the author had been using on the floor, and in a moment of weakness, you took it. The contents are bewildering. Sketches and descriptions of several different kinds of flesh-eating beasts. It seems the author may have been delusional, too. Even so, you find yourself hearing a faint howling at the edge of your perception that sends a cold shiver down your spine. Not long after Drew's escape, you started receiving calls from a friend, Loretta Clark, who works as a night nurse at St. Mary's Hospital. She's growing increasingly convinced that something sinister is lurking in the halls at night. Given the notepad, Nurse Clark, and the mounting reports of missing persons and grave robberies, you have resorted to a less than scientific approach. You reached out to the private investigator Joe Diamond in the hope that he can help you find Drew and stop the howling that grows louder by the day. You have just arrived at his house very late at night. So close. I can hear it growing, ever growing. I will bring freedom to my pack, brother. The hunger guides. The devourer provides for his children. Take him to the frozen dead. Meet the one who prepares them for the feast. That looks to be a scribble out of the notepad that Philip had. I was trying to remember his name. And then, of course, we've got Carolyn's token right here. And we'll put her dice back. Working with her tonight, we have the aforementioned Joe Diamond, the private investigator. The rules for this basically force Joe in here into this scenario, whether by the DM playing him or one of the players picking him up. But we are going to take on Joe Diamond. We can see his skills there. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. As for his knacks, PI grid. When you strain yourself, you may reduce the value of the 1d6 you roll to determine your injury by 1 or 2, your choice, to a minimum of 1. 2-pistol fighting. When using 2 pistols, once per turn after making an attack, you may gain 1 additional die that may only be used to make an attack with your other pistol. The 2 attacks may have the same target or different targets. And then equipment. We've got 2 Colt 1911s. The dual Colt 1911 pistols, 45 feet, 2 damage. Each pistol takes 1 hand to use. While you are engaged with an enemy, you can target only that enemy using these pistols. If you score 3 or more successes, you inflict an injury. 45 ACP ammo. If you reroll as a result of 1 on 1 or more dice while using this weapon, mark one of the above ammo circles. If all circles for a pistol are marked, that pistol must be reloaded. Same punch and kick as we had. Cheap trench coat armor. When you perform a reaction to avoid an attack, you may reroll the die. You have to use the second result. When you suffer an injury while wearing this item, it is destroyed. And then other equipment, he's got a fedora, 2 extra clips, a Zippo lighter, and $12. Joe Diamond's special story so far. You are Joe Diamond, a private investigator known for tackling cases that most rational folk would consider to be supernatural hogwash. You've worked for the wealthy and those without 2 pennies to rub together, all of them desperate by the time they knocked on the door of your dingy office in Northside, down the road from the Arkham Advertiser. Now, you've been looking into several cases of people going missing in the last 2 weeks. What you've found turns your stomach. Dried blood, gnawed bone, pieces of torn clothing, but no bodies. The cops seem content to chalk it up to some sort of animal attacks, robberies gone wrong, or runaways. Someone in the Arkham police force is dirty and covering up something bigger, and you want to get to the bottom of it. You have collected a number of suspicious police reports, all pointing at one cop in particular. Your friend Daisy Walker, a librarian at Miskatonic University, has reached out to you and asked to meet at your house tonight, with a few others who have a vested interest in seeking out the missing and stopping whatever's attacking Arkham's people. They all just arrived at your house a few minutes ago. And we've got our reports of telegrams here. But I won't go through those as I don't want to get too spoilerific, even though by the nature of this video, this playthrough obviously is going to have spoilers for Arkham Horror, the role-playing game. We'll set the dice back up here. I should also warn you that while I have glanced at this scenario to have somewhat of an idea of how the game works, I'm very much still going to be learning it. So if there's somebody in the chat who has played this game before and can maybe help me out with the rules a bit, I would be very appreciative of that. Because if I like this game, I could see adding it, I could see doing more with it on the channel. But as far as my Lovecraftian RPG itch, I know I've got Call of Cthulhu that I could definitely scratch, since the Solo Investigator's Handbook works wonders for that to generate freeform stories, and I can use Mythic with pre-written adventures. I can use Mythic Game Master Emulator with pre-written adventures to generate my role-playing stories there. So I think that's enough rambling, and what say we get into this one, and we'll start off by setting the scene. So, we've got the map of Joe Diamond's house up here that we're going to read through. So, let's set the scene. It is the height of the roaring 20s in the state of Massachusetts. An unsettling force has been casting its hungry gaze upon the streets of Arkham, and fear winds through the hearts and minds of the citizens who call this city home. Recently, disappearances have been increasing. The number of missing persons far exceeds the typical number of runaways and accidents. Many Arkham cities have chosen to ignore the issue and attempt to go about their daily lives, but not you, the investigators of the story. You each have your own personal reasons for gathering here tonight, but one thing is clear. Each one of you is prepared to do whatever you can to stop the evil that is steadily taking hold of the city and its people. Late in the evening, you gather at Joe Diamond's bungalow in the Rivertown neighborhood. Here, you set us about trying to piece together any leads that might bring you closer to uncovering the truth about what is happening in Arkham. All right, so we're going to be stepping into our scene a little bit. And as far as the leads go, as we established, Joe has a couple of leads that he's coming in with. He suspects someone in the Arkham police station is covering up an increasing number of citizen disappearances. And he's got a stack of police reports which point to detailing some of those disappearances. And it looks like the same lead police officer, Billy Cooper, was assigned to each one. So let me see if I can find those reports in this mess. Maybe they were on the back of Joe's investigator portfolio, but I'm not completely sure about that. I just now realized they're giving me Joe as an NPC. Never mind. That's for a different scenario. Let's see. I think. No, that's actually. So I believe the. Okay, so I believe the police reports were what were on the back of Joe's portfolio that we glanced at. So these all have Officer Cooper on the name. Report of suspicious activity on night shift. No intruders found from August 23rd, 1926. The 26th, anonymous call about a smell coming from the area. Suspect is a dead raccoon. And then from September 2nd, older woman, Mrs. Hamish, came in to report her husband, Mr. Hamish, is suffering from dementia. Gone for 3 hours. Okay. Those are the reports that we've got. Carolyn, as mentioned, recently a patient of Carolyn's, Philip Drew, attacked a visiting author and escaped the Arkham Sanatorium. The author was torn apart and partially eaten, and lying near his body was a small notebook with some scribbled notes on it, what we saw on the back of Carolyn's portfolio, I should say. And then since the other 3 investigators didn't come into the game, we do have their clues anonymously. So we also have a translation of some pages of something called the Cult des Ghouls. This translation can, well, I'm not going to get into spoilers on that. And we also have, okay. So we're not going to get into that later. We also know that graves all over the city are being robbed, but the gravekeeper's graveyard is not an exception. Bodies are either being torn apart or taken away completely, but the grave robber says he hasn't been able to catch anybody in the act. And then we also have another investigator who is ignored and belittled by a Billy Cooper, and we know that name from the police reports that Joe has. And that could be relevant to his suspicions, but I don't think Joe believes in coincidences. We also have a strange journal, so we'll take a look at both of those pieces of evidence as well. So we'll unfold this. Here's the strange journal that we've come into possession of, with what looks like a bunch of gibberish writing on the back of it. And then to aid in translation, we've got some notes here, so I'm not going to go through all of the backstory on here. It's translated as 23 symbols. Okay. And then we've got, so the notes that are relevant here. When EA are found together, it is simply written as an E with the V symbol like that. O and Y are both represented by the same symbol, which we've got that there. M and W are the same symbol, except the symbol for W is a 90-degree turn to the left. J and Z look to be represented by the same symbol as well. And double letters are written as the symbol once, with a straight line marked above it to indicate the duplication. For example, might be a little bit hard to read here because this camera is not the best. 2 Latin Fs would look like that. So that's the symbol for F and then a straight line to indicate the duplication. Or 2 Ns would be that symbol, again, with the straight line there. So, what else do we want to do here? I think this is just our chance to poke around with our notes. Okay, I believe that's all we're... Just be looking for something. Okay. So each of our characters gets to take an action. Let's take actions. So what do we want to do here? So I think we are... Does it say where we're at in the house to start? I could have used Mythic for this, but I didn't. But I want to be focused more on trying to learn this game. So, again, bear with me a bit while we figure this out. So, do we even put the investigators out yet? I'm just thinking how I want to. Okay, so we've got the map laid out. Okay. So it looks like we're just kind of poking around. Presumably we're probably all in either the sitting room, I would think. Just kind of looking at our notes. I think that's what we'll go with. We're in the sitting room, kind of poking around a little bit. And I think the only thing that's really catching our eye right now that we've got it, is this letter. So let's try our hand at translating this. I'm going to try to turn away from that, because I do have like I said, I do have the book in front of me so I can see the answer, but I want to try to translate this. So with the clues that we've got an EA. We've got a lot of EAs here. Okay. Right. Important. Okay, so yeah, they're going to try. So yeah, I think that's going to be the effort here. They are going to try to translate this message. So I've got my notebook over here. And yes, you're probably going to hear a lot of that weird sound as I'm writing notes here. So I'm going to put let me see if I can flatten this letter out a little bit. I may have to put something down on top of it. Okay, so we know we've got a bunch of what look like EAs in here. So EA, looks like that's an EA. There's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. O and Y are represented by the same symbol, so that's an O or a Y. That's another EA. Let's see. That's either an O or a Y again. Actually, at the end of that. Okay, so Okay. So I have a feeling a lot of this scene is going to be taken by trying to translate the letter. So I'm gonna at least give it something resembling an honest attempt, but I do have the answer. So if I think I'm taking too long with it, then we will just move along. Then we will just move the scene along here. Let's see. So we've got 1, 2. Actually, wait a minute. Okay, that second letter is an N, because we saw from the note here that when it was 2 N's, it would be like that. It would be that symbol with a straight line, but because there's no straight line there, that's a single N. Then we got a Y. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols, and then we have an EA. Actually, that's an E. When EA are found together, it's written simply as an E. So hold on a second. That might change things here. So we've got blank blank E, E blank E, blank N, blank blank, blank NE, blank blank O or Y. Then we go blank blank N, blank E, blank blank, blank N, whatever this is, these two symbols are the same. So blank, blank E, then blank E, blank, 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 NE, two blanks, and then O or Y. And they're both represented by the same symbol. Blank E, blank E. And that's the end of the sentence. Then 4 blanks. Then 3. 3 blanks and an E. 3 blanks. Blank OY. Blank E. 2 blanks and an E. That's a single F because it doesn't have the, so FE. So FE blank blank. OY, O or YF, that's probably an O in this case. So of blank blank E. Blank E blank with a comma. Blank E blank with a comma. Blank N and a blank. Blank blank E. That word, those two words are exactly the same. Blank blank E. And then we've got blank E. Blank, so we got blank E, 4 blanks, N blank, blank OY, then blank blank E blank, probably another of, blank blank E, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blanks, and then an OY, or Y. Oh, wait. Blank NE blank. And that's the end of that sentence. And then blank blank O or Y. Blank blank E blank. Blank blank. This one's doubled because it's got the line at the top of it. So blank blank. So essentially 4 blanks, EN. Okay, so now we need to start putting some of these clues together. Let's see. Okay, so we got all of that. So whatever these, so I'm going to give myself about 15 minutes on this, and then we're going to move the scene along. So looking at this, so we see this set of symbols a lot. I see it, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times it looks like. Actually, we see it, actually I see it 6 times if I count down here in the, what's presumably the salutation at the end, judging by how this whole thing is laid out. Excuse me, a little frog in my throat. Let's see. So that's the only, actually so there was another page on the translation note of the Cult des Ghoul, but that actually got torn out. So let's see if there was anything more on here. Looks like just more details about ciphers, so I don't think that is going to be very helpful. The following page with the actual translation in the Latin alphabet was torn out of the book. Okay. That is rather unfortunate. M and W are the same symbol, except the symbol for W is a 90-degree turn to the left. So J and Z are the same symbol. Let's see. Okay. Translate in the standard Latin alphabet on the next page. Okay, so we've got a very spare set of... All right, so we know that's an F, so... So maybe, so this word, so here this symbol is probably an O. So that's either an O or a Y. So we've got one out of that. So blank, blank, one. Blank, blank, one. Blank, blank, one. So again, that's either, that symbol is either an O or a Y. Okay. So that would, so I wonder if, let's see, so we need a word ending in E that we see several times. I wonder if that's the. Let's work with that. So we'll take that as being T. All right, so let's take all of those and fill them in as T's and see if that gives us anything to work with. Let's see, looking at this symbol, with that being an N, let's see, an, EN isn't a word, in, on, or un. Un's a prefix, so I wouldn't use that. We know that's not O, so that could be either A or I. But I'm getting kind of sidetracked here. So let's plug in that as being TH. We see that a few times. Okay, so we've got a T. So that's moving back, so that T should go here. That's an N. That's an H. All right, I'm getting sidetracked again. So that's a T. T. I'm just going and plugging in where I think T's go in. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the sixth word, which I'm thinking that's the. Of the. The. And then we've got that down here again. All right. So where else do I see T's and H's in here? So I've got a T there. That's an H. We've got a TH there. So that's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 8th word. 8. Another TH. And that's a, what did we establish that symbol was? I don't think we've covered that symbol yet. Okay. So that's a TH. Down here I'm now at N. Let's see, that's an FE. If I'm assuming that's a T, okay, so that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. TH. Wait. No. Hold on. I think I got myself lost here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, never mind. So 1. Wait a minute. Hold on. Ow. 3, 4, 5. Where did I think that was an E? I don't think that. No, that's not an E. So 1, 2, 3, TH. Okay. So we know we know that the M and the W are the same symbol, but the W is 90 to the left. So where do we see those duplicated? Or do we see them duplicated? Well, not duplicated isn't the word I want, but yeah, I'm giving myself only about another 5 more minutes on trying to translate this before I just move on with the answer. So I think the only word that works in this word up here is eternal. So that gives me that as being R. Wait a minute. Are those? No, I don't think those symbols are the same, but we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's an R. Let's see if we can fill in any other R's here. So E, R. Is that an R? Yes. So here, yeah, that's probably here. Let's see. Do we have any other R's in here? We probably do. That's an R, yes. So that's what that symbol is. Mm. We got the same thing here. And then that symbol is duplicated down here. All right, so that's probably B for brother. Do we have that symbol anywhere else in here? Yes, we do. So it looks like we've got it there, and I think that's the only other place where it shows up. Let's see. Blank blank RREN. Seems like that could be Baron or Warren, which basically makes me think that's probably an A. Which would make sense with that being eternal. So if I'm assuming that that's a W? No, that wouldn't make sense to be a W. I think that's the only other B I see in here. Unfortunately, with only this, M and W are the same symbol. I haven't pinned down an M or a W yet, I don't think. No, I haven't. So the eternal one. We don't have any other A's in here, I don't think, do we? That would be this. That's this symbol down here. And obviously, also, I'm only one person trying to translate this, so yeah, it's not going to be the best effort in the world, most likely, but we only have. But I think rather than kind of putz around with this, we're just going to move the scene along. So I'll give you guys the so here's the translation of that. The eternal one who hungers in the depths is nearly here. With his rise will come the feast of the dead and the writhing bodies of the guilty ones. Brother Warren. Yikes, that seems like a problem. Is that the point? Excuse me. So now that we've translated that, I wanted to give that an honest effort, but that was the translation that was the answer that we have there. So yeah, I believe. So let me just look here at the adventure a little bit. But now I think we are all set to move on. So we've translated the message, and that's something we're definitely going to want to investigate. See if we can figure out more about what these hungering in the depths means. But at this point, I think now we're starting to realize that. All right. So that's all the rules. Okay. I've decided there's nothing more they want to do. So we were actually supposed to be spending dice during that scene as well. Whoops. Okay. Anywho. So we decided that scene 1 ends, so now we're going to move into scene 2. We're not alone. After several hours spent researching the disappearances and looking for leads, you feel the weight of the day resting heavily on your shoulders. Whew. Suddenly, your concentration room's silence are broken by a loud crash from the cellar. Uh-oh. Yikes. So now we've got company. As we decide to go downstairs, we discover that we've got company. So we discover in the basement of the cellar that we have ghouls now bursting forth from the cellar. If I can ever find the ghouls in here. I know I should have tokens for, oh yeah, I've got tokens in here for them. Okay. So these happen to be which ones did I happen to grab? Are there identifiers for these? Oh yeah. Okay, so we've got there's individual tokens for them too. Let's see. So which number sheets did I grab? Looks like 3, 5, and 7. Three, 5, and 7, because we've got in ghouls plus 1 so we've got investigators, for every investigator, including Joe, one ravenous ghoul attacks soon after the investigators hear the crash in the cellar. So it looks like we should have 2 in the cellar. So we only need 3 and 7. We don't need 5. Now, fortunately for us, we don't think going down there, so when we go downstairs, we discover that they don't seem to be here for us, but we think that they're working here now that we've learned about the stockpot, now that we've learned about the Eternal One hungering, we're wondering, are they here for more bodies? So yikes. Now we're on to that. Okay, so now we get attacked. Which means now we need to get the dice out for... So now we need to put dice together for the ghouls. And they've got their own abilities, which we'll learn about as we're going through this fight. Oh, actually, I only need the 1 sheet. So if I grab Ravenous Ghoul 3 and 4, that'll make my life ridiculously easy. So let's do that and be a little bit smarter about this. So let's grab Ravenous Ghoul 4 and swap out 7. And not put it under Carolyn's sheet. Okay. So now we've got our first structured scene for this game. So let's see what we can get into here. So we've got an investigator's turn, and so we've got an investigator's turn first. Well, first we refill our dice pool, which everybody's at full already. Right, then we have to work together in the most effective way we can. So we'll have Carolyn. Actually, we'll have Joe go first since it's his house. He'll spend a die to move. Actually, they're going to move. Does it specify how many feet the map squares take up? Let me see about that. Move up to 10 feet. All right, so he's going to have to move. So he's definitely going to move and investigate the cellar. So he's going to move 1, unlock the door. I'm just going to say each map square is 1 foot because that's the same, what's the word I want? Same parameter as 5 parsecs. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open the door to the cellar stairs. 8, 9, 10. So now he's down there. Joe discovers the ghouls down the basement. He's looking at this going, what in the world? Carolyn hears that. She's going to move through the open doors now as well. And I believe we can break up the investigator actions, I think. Connect in any order and can split their actions however they want. So Carolyn is now going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now she's on her way down the stairs. All right, Joe is going to spend a die to move down about 1, 2 feet. Let's see, we could break it up to shoot again, I think. Right? Yes. Yeah. We could spend an action to take a... We could spend another die here to take a shot. So I think Joe will spend an action. We'll spend a would this be a complex action, I think? Yes, to make an attack. So perform a complex action. Deal damage to the weapon's damage minus the target's armor value. Okay, so Joe's going to spend a die to take a ranged combat action at this ghoul. He needs a 4+ to succeed on the attack. And he's using his Colt 1911 pistols. Okay. That's a 2, so he isn't able to do anything with that. Joe will try that again. That's an even worse result. So actually his Colt 1911 should be... Actually, he should have 1 ammo left on one of his pistols. Right, so that one's got an ammo on it. And he's going to sit tight on his... on the rest of his dice so he can perform reactions during the turn. During essentially the GM turn, which is what I'd be doing. So yeah, Joe's going to sit tight on that. Carolyn is going to spend a die. She's going to try to... No, I think she's actually going to... sit on her dice, I think. Oh. What? Stand up or lie down is a simple die. Okay, so actually during the narrative scene, I think Joe would have had to spend 2 dice to open doors, so he's out. And obviously Joe left them open for Carolyn, so Carolyn didn't have to spend any dice. So I think with that, Joe is completely out of actions. Let's see, what does Carolyn want to do here? Carolyn's going to move down, I think, into the cellar, see if she can find something that she can use. Is there an action to, like, search for an item of some kind? Like maybe a hammer or something she could use. Yeah, I think down the basement, Carolyn's got to be able to find something, so that's probably a... What kind of check would that be, I wonder? Because I'm going to spend a die for a basic... We're actually under pressure here, so... Down the basement, Carolyn was probably going to find a shovel or something. So she's going to grab that. She'll grab that, and now she's got a shovel in her hands. Let's see if there's an example, like a simple melee item in the core rule book. Weapons 81. She'll probably be doing something like a melee weapons. Here we go. No, improvised weapon. That'll work. Okay, so she's got it. So now she's got a shovel in her hands. Carolyn, what's she going to do with that shovel in her hand? Carolyn is going to spend a die to move in close with one of these, to one of these ghouls. Then she's going to spend a die to make a melee attack with the shovel. Unfortunately, she needs a 6+, which shockingly she gets a 6 on that, and the Ravenous Ghoul doesn't have any damage on it. So we'll take that away from number 4. Those are gone. And then Carolyn is going to spend a die to... Roll one or more dice using melee combat. All right, Carolyn's actually going to try to take out this ghoul. Which that's a 2, so she's going to fail at that. On a 1, the shovel would break. So Carolyn's got to be very careful with that. Let's try it. I think Carolyn's actually going to sit tight on her last die. She wants to be able to do something with reactions. Which, speaking of which, number 4 will have to... perform a simple action to consume part of a nearby corpse. When one or more ghoul actions, okay, so it's going to use teeth and claws to try to attack Carolyn. Needs a 4+ on melee, which that's a 3, so that won't do anything. As for the ravenous ghoul, number 3, that one will move... Actually, he's going to go after Joe, I think. When this NPC suffers an injury, it's killed instant damage. Just, let's see, used melee combat. They deal damage, okay? All right. Let's see. Okay. All right, so Ravenous Ghoul 3, is he going to go after Joe or go after Carolyn? I think he's going to go after Carolyn, because Carolyn's the one right now trying to beat this one down with a shovel. And then he's going to take an attack on Carolyn as well. When one or more ghoul allies are within 15 yards. Actually, so this one would have been able to roll. Reroll again. Still doesn't do anything to Carolyn. Okay, so the Ravenous Ghoul now is going to attack... Ravenous Ghoul 3 is now going to attack Carolyn. That's a 1, but it can re-roll. That's still a 1, okay. So then it'll try to attack again. Which that's a 6, so it'll do 2 damage to Carolyn. Which means, actually, Carolyn could roll... Could Carolyn roll some kind of evasion? I think she could probably roll an evasion using... Try to block. So, yep, Carolyn does have a die to spend on that for agility. She would need a 6+, though. Would it be a... uses the agility to dodge a ranged attack. Melee combat to block a melee attack. Which Carolyn won't block that. So she'll lose... So she'll take 2 damage and lose 2 of her dice. We'll put those off to the side, I guess. And then that's the end of the round, so... Excuse me. So now everything will replenish. Yep, so we'll refill... Dice pool of each investigator refills. Alright, so Joe's going to get all of his dice back. Carolyn's only going to get 4 of hers back. We do have an option to strain ourselves, but we're not going to strain ourselves just yet. Let's see, Joe's going to take a shot at the... Joe's going to take a shot at... Is Joe going to take a shot at Ravenous Ghoul 4 to try to take it out? No. He's going to take a shot at 3 to try to do some damage there. He needs a 4+ on that, which he won't get with a 2. He'll try it again. That's a 3, still nothing. Try it again. Jeez, Joe is having terrible dice luck. Carolyn's like, you're an idiot. Let me try this again with a shovel. I was having better luck. So Carolyn's going to is going to swing the shovel at number 3. She'll come close, but she won't quite get there, which is unfortunate. She will punch and kick to try to. Well, let's actually use the shovel again. By this point, I think Joe's trash talking Carolyn. Joe's kind of giving Carolyn some smack. Like, I thought you could do better than me on this. Let me try again with the gun here. Actually, yeah. We'll try again with the gun on number 3. There's a hit, so that'll do 2 damage to number 3. Then Joe will try again with the pistol to try to take out number 4. That's a 2, nothing doing there. Carolyn with the shovel. And we're probably going to pass. Actually, we're going to probably pass after this. So we have some dice for reactions. And Carolyn. Oh no, this is actually bad. Carolyn breaks. The shovel breaks and Carolyn can't get away from. Now Carolyn's got a huge problem on her hands. So now she's going to pass. And we're both going to have some problems. So the ghouls are both going to have their dice pools refill to 1. Number 3 is going to attack Carolyn with teeth and claws. That's a 4, which would be a hit. Carolyn will spend to try to dodge it, which she won't be able to, so she'll take another 2 damage. Okay, putting Carolyn in melee was a bad idea. And then the other one will try to attack Carolyn. So that was one of Carolyn's dice. Yeah, Carolyn is now, when she's reduced to 0, I believe she's just knocked out. Carolyn doesn't have any kind of armor on her, so yeah. They're wounded. The only thing they can do while they're wounded is strain themselves. Okay. So yeah, now we're at the start of a new turn, which means Carolyn is going to have to strain herself to be able to heal back to full, but that will also mean she has to roll for an injury. So she's going to strain herself. And right, I believe there's a result in here of injuries. Yes, so we roll a d6 and add 1 for each existing injury. I'll grab one of these dice on this side. Carolyn's injury is a 6. Carolyn has an injured leg. Until this injury is healed by performing a complex action using knowledge, or by waiting 8 hours to heal on its own, any simple actions that would be performed using this limb are now complex actions, including moving, which uses athletics, and you suffer a -1 penalty on all dice rolled when performing any action that were already complex actions that use athletics, agility, and melee combat. At your GM's discretion, some actions may not be performed at all. Oh, that's great. So Carolyn, injury. What did we say? Injured leg. Yikes. That is a major problem. All right, so now Joe is going to have to take a shot at one of these ghouls to try to take it out and get out of some trouble for Carolyn. Yikes. That was a terrible roll. He'll try it again. Fortunately, it's not a 3, though. Or not a 1. All right, that's a 5, so one of these ghouls is defeated. We'll defeat number 4. But now we've got problems. Because now, when we've defeated all but one ghoul, we hear another crash, this one coming from the upper floor. So now we've got 2 more ghouls coming at us from the upper floor. Let's see, 1 and 2. Yikes. Things just went from bad to worse. So now they're on the upper floor. In Joe's bedroom, no less. Yowza. Okay. So, that seems like a major problem. Yikes. Well, Joe's going to try to deal with the last ghoul that's threatening Carolyn. And yeah, we're going to need to reload that 1911 from the looks of it. That'll be an under pressure roll. Joe's going to use his other pistol trying to take that thing out for Carolyn. That's a 5, so that ghoul has been defeated, thankfully. And now Carolyn is very much in a bad way. So now she's got a complex action where she needs to try to use knowledge she's going to try to use knowledge to heal this injured leg. Her leg got punctured, and now she's going to have to try to get rid of that. Yes. Okay. Actually, yeah. Right. Complex action to try to heal. Try to heal that injury. She does have a first aid kit. Okay. That's a 4, and she needed a 4+. So Carolyn's injured leg is now healed. Which is what that... Yep, okay. So Carolyn's injured leg is now healed. Which means now she can move like normal. So she'll move. She will actually spend a die to move. See if we can find something else down here. Yeah, I think we'll find a wrench down here next. So we've got another improvised weapon. And then Carolyn is going to move 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, she was here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is how we're going to do that. And then Joe's going to spend a die. Actually, yeah, Joe's going to spend a die to move up as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'll spend another die so we can try to rig up something resembling an ambush. So we'll move him up there. All right, and now we've got our new ghoul friends coming out, which means their dice pools are going to refill. All right, so now we've got ghoul 1. That's going to move 1. I believe they also take actions similar to what... I believe they take actions similar to... Yeah, so it's going to move, then it's going to spend a die to break through the door, and then it'll continue moving downstairs. One can see one or more non-ghoul corpses receives... Okay, so that's nothing complicated there. Okay. And then it'll spend another die to move downstairs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sees Carolyn first. So he's going to move up to her. And then fortunately for us, the other ghoul doesn't have a die to spend for an attack, so he can't do anything with that. And then Ravenous Ghoul 2 is going to, of course, the door got left open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coming downstairs. Spending a die to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to get to Joe. And then he'll spend his last die to make an attack, which is going to be a 4+, which that's a 6. Joe doesn't have a die left to spend, so he's going to suffer 2 damage on that. And then that's the end of another turn, which means our investigators' dice pools refill. Right, Carolyn is going to start off by using her improvised wrench on Ghoul 1. That's a 4, so nothing happening there. Then she's going to try that again. Wow. Carolyn just has been breaking up some of Joe's things tonight. She broke a shovel in the cellar, and now a wrench. Carolyn is getting desperate, so she's going to look in the kitchen and be able to find a knife. What kind of knife do we find is the question. I don't think we find a switchblade. I think we just find like a... I think we'd probably just find like a kitchen knife in here. Or could we find like a... Actually, since this is an investigator's house, he probably keeps all kinds of stuff around here. So let's roll a d12. Let's say on a 1 to 6, Carolyn finds like a kitchen knife. And on a 7 and up, she finds something like a baseball bat, something that might actually be a bit stronger. That's a 7, so Carolyn will find a baseball bat. Again, why it would be in the kitchen, I don't know, but this is Joe's house, so it's probably very possible. Let's see if I have an item here for something like a baseball bat. I probably don't. I did see an improvised blunt weapon card in here, so I'm probably going to end up going with that. Actually, there is an entry in here for a baseball bat, so we're going to go with that. So since I've got rules in the core book for a baseball bat, that's what we'll use. All right, Joe is going to take a shot with his open Colt at the ghoul in front of him using range. Actually, this would be a ranged combat roll technically, since he's using a gun. That's a 4, so he will do 2 damage with that. That'll go on number 2. And then he'll try it again to take out the ghoul on him. That's a 1, so he's got to spend another ammo. Unfortunately, he is going to have to spend an action here pretty soon to try to reload under pressure. Reload. Okay, so while under pressure, roll 1 or more dice using agility, which Joe's going to try to do here. He's going to try to reload his 1911 number 1 using agility, which his agility is not great, but it's enough to let him reload. And then he's going to sit on the rest of his last dice, so he's got a reaction. Carolyn will use her baseball bat on number 1. Wow. And Carolyn will break it on a 1. Yikes. I think Joe may be telling Carolyn, stop looking for stuff in my house if you're going to keep breaking it all. Okay, so with that in mind, now I think we'll pass so we have reactions available to us. So number 1 is going to make a teeth and claws attack on Carolyn. That's a 1. He'll get to reroll that. Still a 1. Try it again on Carolyn. That's a 4, which will be good for an attack, which will be good for 2 damage. Carolyn will spend a die to try to dodge that, using her agility, which is absolute garbage. But she will be able to dodge it. Lucky Carolyn. And then 1 will make its last attack on Carolyn. And Carolyn will try to dodge that again. And not so lucky this time. And then the 1 on Joe will try to make a melee attack on Joe. Which that's a 1. It'll get to reroll that. And that'll hit. Joe will try to dodge using a slightly better agility than Carolyn's. And actually be able to dodge the attack. Alright, everything will reload. Or reset as we're at the start of a round. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Something. Let's see. Something's not okay. I'm just looking at this starter story, and I'm realizing that there are still a few holes in here. Yeah, well, let's give this one more. Let's give this one more round, and I think we're going to trigger the end of it. But I'm having some problems with this story. So Joe is going to try to take out try to do some damage to the ghoul on Carolyn with his Colt 1911 that he's managed to reload. That's a 4, so 2 damage to the ghoul on Carolyn. Then he'll run that back, trying to take out the one on Carolyn. That's a 3, nothing doing there. Joe will try it again. Actually, he'll shoot the one on him. And that'll take out the ghoul on him. Whereas Carolyn is going to try to punch the ghoul on her. Her melee is not that good. 5 won't quite do it. Joel will expend another shot to try to take out the ghoul on Carolyn. Which that'll take that one out. So the ghouls have all been defeated. But now when we try to get out... So now when we get out, we realize that... So now when we try to get out at the door, we realize that something's wrong, because now we realize we can't open the door for some reason. Actually, can leave the house. So we realize that we can't open the door somehow, but what we find here is instead there's a barrier of some kind that's been put up on the door. So now I've got to set this whole thing up. Inspect. Okay, so yeah, so now Carolyn's going to walk over now that the ghouls are all dead and things have settled down. She's going to look over to the window and be like, "Wait a second, Joe, do you see this?" He's like, "Yeah, what is this?" They realize there's a barrier of some kind there. And this is what the barrier is going to look like. This is the puzzle. This is the barrier puzzle that I was looking at and being like, "Wait a second, how do I get to this?" Okay. Additionally, so we also realize we've got a ghoul priest waiting outside. But yeah, let me set up this. Let me see if I can set this puzzle up. Hold on. Okay. First part, the frame. All right, I'm just shuffling up the pieces of the puzzle off camera. If I can ever do this without having the pieces fall on me. Okay, so now we set it up, leaving the bottom right corner empty. And unfortunately, this isn't going to lay flat because of the table that I've got here. Okay. Hmm. I mean, mechanically, I'm finding this to be an okay game, but I don't know. I think the on rails nature of this game kind of well, this is the learning adventures. This is more about trying to learn the game than anything else. So I think I was always going to have a little bit of a problem with how on rails this was. I wonder how I'd do with more of a freeform adventure if I was doing something like a Mythic. If I was using something like a Mythic Game Master emulator. Okay. So now how do we work on the puzzle? The structured scene ends. Okay. So now we've got the puzzle. Now that we've come into now that we're essentially into a narrative scene, I think, at this point. Right? So actually we managed to kill all the ghouls, which means in theory, this scene is probably over at this point. Yeah, so I think the scene's actually over at this point. I'm going to make a note, actually. So, yeah, we defeated the attackers. So now normally we'd be trying to solve the scene we'd be trying to solve the puzzle during this whole thing. Right? Yes, so we've managed to defeat the ghoul, and I'm going to save ourselves some time and assume that we will go through, that we will be able to eventually solve the puzzle. So, well, like I said, we'll eventually be able to solve the puzzle since we've already defeated the ghouls, and now we get to meet our new character. So we can put all of that away. And I can save the puzzle for another time. All right, so a redheaded woman actually breaks her own barrier once she realizes. Actually, wait a minute. So we kill all the ghouls. We actually still have to defeat the ghoul priest, but I think I can leave the house only if they attempt that. So actually, theoretically, we should be fighting the ghoul priest, but let's see what the ghoul priest looks like off shot. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I think we are actually going to call it a stream there. I'm actually going a bit longer than I thought I would. So yeah, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here. So I'm skipping over a little bit. I'll pretend that we eventually were going to defeat the ghoul priest, but not the way we were rolling, though probably not. So jumping forward a little bit, we'll just go through that. And stepping into the house now that we've managed to defeat the ghouls, and the ghoul priest has apparently been driven off. So after things settle down, we see a redheaded woman step into Joe's kitchen. She brushes off her clothes, and we look at her like, what the hell? And Joe's looking at her like, what the hell are you doing here, and who the hell are you? The woman brushes off her clothes, and as she speaks to you, these monsters you've seen, they were human once. Now they're beasts, mostly. However, there are some cultists among them who still look and think like us, and they're working towards something terrible. But whether they look like humans or like those things, she gestures toward the ghouls that we've defeated in the kitchen. They all act the same. Steal bodies, mutilate them, eat them, or drag them off to who knows where. So we've got a lot of questions here. We're wondering... so once she answers their questions, she continues. Those things are planning something. I know that much. Some sort of ritual under a full moon. And it's happening tomorrow night. Chandler stares at you, her eyes burning with fiery conviction. I want this all to end. The monsters won't stop unless someone stops them. I'm going to be that someone, but I won't say no to some help. How about it? So I think we are going to help Lita, but we definitely need some allies. So she shares that she recently burned. So I recently had to burn down an abandoned barn outside of Arkham that another group of cultists I encountered and their ghoul allies were using. They met something. We overheard something called Umordoth. Okay, and then she tells the investigator they need 3 things to have a chance of stopping the ritual. We need to know where the ritual is, information on the ghoul's weaknesses, and details about the ritual. So I think, and Joe's going to look at, actually, Joe and Carolyn both are going to look at her and say, we need some help. The book here is actually saying that there's another investigator that we can seek out. So Joe is saying, I thought I remembered there was somebody working at Velma's diner that was dabbling in magic. Carolyn's eyes go wide. She's like, wait, you mean Agnes? And yes, it is that Agnes Baker. And I'm taking some liberties here because the adventure book is actually saying that Joe and Agnes are friends, but in my headcanon in the Arkham Horror files, I'm saying that Agnes and Carolyn are the ones who are thick as thieves. So the 3 of them are actually going to head down to Velma's diner. And I think that's where we'll pick up next time we get into that's where we'll pick up next time we jump into this. So that will do it for this playthrough of Arkham Horror, the role-playing game. I did actually find it interesting that the dice represent your actions and your health in the same breath. But it just seemed a little bit confusing and a little bit patchworky to me. I don't know, it didn't really feel right. So I admittedly don't know if I'm going to come back to this story, but I could see myself doing more of a freeform story now that I've got the core rule book, but that'll be another thought for another day. So I'm rambling a bit, but let's wrap this stream up. Excuse me. Tomorrow night, we're going to be starting the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament in Christmas in Arkham with our first group, and now I've got to double check which ancient ones that's going to entail. Actually, I take that back. We've actually got one more thing we need to get into tonight because I just got a delivery in from Amazon earlier this afternoon. So I'm going to go ahead, clean this up, and we'll unbox that. That'll be lightning quick to unbox anyway. So let me get this cleaned up while I pull up the Excel spreadsheet on my phone with the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament loaded into it. I'm probably going to want a little bit bigger dice as well, because they did go through the tower fine, but they seem a little small, I think. Okay, so our first group tomorrow night is going to be Haster, then Shubni Gudath, then Nyarlathotep. So that's the group of ancient ones that we're looking at tomorrow night. Wednesday, we'll be continuing the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament with Group 2, as we have Azathoth, then Atlach Naka, and then Ithaca. Then Thanksgiving Day on Thursday will feature Group 3 with Yig, then Cthulhu, and Yog-Sothoth. And then on Black Friday, we'll have the winners group along with another game. I haven't decided what that game is going to be yet. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will conclude out of the unofficial Disney Parks cookbook with the drink Jungle Juleps. And then Sunday, we'll be starting the first leg proper of Christmas in Arkham as we play Eldritch Horror. I'm rambling a bit while I clean up here, but we're going to have a small product unboxing once I get all of this picked up. And it looks like I opened one from one side, one from the other. Okay. Oop. I'm just about done here to get that product unboxing in. Whoops. And we've got Joe and Carolyn that needed to stay on the map. Okay. All right. Now that I've at least got everything out, I can worry about closing that up a bit later. But we've got our aforementioned delivery here from Amazon. So let's go ahead and crack this open and see what we've got in here. And in here, we've got the newest Air War game by Historic Wings and Thomas Van Hare, Game of Drones, a solitaire drone war game. Game of Drones is a solitaire war game set in the narrative style about the Ukraine war. Set in the summer of 2024, it places you into the role of a drone pilot leading a team in the Krasnohorivka sector of Donetsk. During your 2 months deployment, you will see Russian main battle tanks, BMPs, BTRs, MTLBs, Grad rocket launchers, trucks, infantry, and more. Will you survive and prevail? Designed by Thomas Van Hare, this is the 5th game of a series of book-based war games. It is written and produced in conjunction with Joe Big Mac McDonald, a drone pilot fighting in Ukraine. As a result, it is an accurate, up-to-date, and honest depiction of what it is like to fight in this new era, when drones have come to dominate the battlefield. A portion of the proceeds support his drone team. Regarding production, we will produce 1 million drones next year. We will make 1 million. We will do everything to make it so. I know that's how it'll be. President Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine. And that's it for this playthrough of Arkham Horror, the role-playing game. I'm not going to ramble on what's coming up on the channel because I've done that already. But thank you for watching this video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.